2 days in Tokyo went by so fast, and at this point it was time to head off to our next adventure, Osaka. But first we had to stop at 7-Eleven for some bullet train snacks. Priscilla and I don't have the best history when it comes to trains and tickets and getting off at the right stop, but after a little confusion, we finally got our tickets to Osaka. I literally brought this one single mint disc bullet train bullet all the way to Japan just for this shot. It made a really cool Instagram reel, so it was definitely worth it. There's plenty of space. We got on the wrong train again, because we always do. Are you missing anything?
Just my suitcase.
When we got on the wrong train, it was leaving in like a minute, and the lady was like, "You're on the wrong train," and we grabbed everything, but she forgot her suitcase. So we're gonna have to hunt it down somewhere in Japan. We'll catch up to your suitcase one day. One thing about Priscilla and I is we're gonna lose something and we're gonna get on and off the wrong train. After we got settled in, it was time to snack on our 7-Eleven goodies. I got a chicken patty, the amazing egg salad sandwich, and this, oh my goodness, delicious cheese croquette, which is just deep fried cheese that melts in your mouth. So good. We booked a reserved ticket on the right side of the train because that's how you get the best views of Mount Fuji. We were very lucky to have such a clear and beautiful day because from what I've heard, those are few and far between, and there's a lot of times that you will be on this train ride and not get to see it. When the train attendant came through, we inquired about what we needed to do to get Priscilla's bag back from the other train that we accidentally left it on. When I tell you, if you're gonna lose something, Japan is the place to lose it in, I mean it. A woman seated near us overheard our conversation, and a few minutes later she walked over with this handwritten note. She told us to give it to the Lost and Found in Osaka with hopes that it would help the Lost and Found understand us better and get Priscilla's bag quicker. We could have never gotten this lucky in the States. The Japanese culture is truly something special. The bullet train was about 3.5 hours from Tokyo to Osaka, and we got the most amazing views the entire way. Less than 5 minutes off the train, and we already got Priscilla's suitcase back. We couldn't have asked for a better Lost and Found experience. We weren't super hungry at this point, but we decided to take the opportunity to check out McDonald's Japan. I love trying McDonald's in other countries because they have such different items than we have. This was probably the least exciting international McDonald's I had ever been to, just because they didn't have as many unique items as I expected. One thing about Japan is, no matter where you go, you are going to have to walk, and there's going to be a lot of stairs. This was our Airbnb in Osaka. It was only $137 for 3 nights. Everybody's always talked about how expensive Japan is, but we found accommodations to be very inexpensive. I'm not sure if that's always the case, but we were very grateful for it because we love a good deal. Our first evening in Osaka, we stayed in to rest, but we woke up pretty early the next morning and got our day started. Our Airbnb was only a few minutes walk from the Kuromon Market. I am a sucker for a market, and this one was probably the coolest one I've ever been to. Sometimes seafood markets can be a little sketchy, but everything here was so fresh. All the seafood looked so good. The sushi looked amazing. You could pick out your bundles and get it made to order right there in front of you. Although I would have loved to have sushi and seafood every meal, Japan is so much more than that. Surprisingly enough, I have never had takoyaki. And there are plenty of places you can get it in the US, but I decided to just wait until I finally made it to Japan.
100.
So for breakfast and our first meal in Osaka, we had takoyaki and the okonomiyaki. I wish I had also tried one of these red bean paste coins, but I didn't want to fill up so early in the morning. The okonomiyaki was so good, but wow, was it big. We definitely could have shared this. And I'm probably going to get yelled at for this, but I didn't love the takoyaki. It was just a little too doughy for me. I don't know if it was just how it's made here or everywhere. I guess I'll have to try it again sometime. After all that savory food, it was time for a sweet treat, and I was dying to get my hands on these candied strawberries. This quickly became another item I had to get once or twice a day. After Kuromon Market, we headed to the famous Dotombori Street. Dotombori Street is known for its eye-catching signs and elaborate billboards. You can find these giant 3D and often moving signs all down the street.
I kind of want to try it.
Priscilla decided to try her hand at one of these shooting games that you could find along the street.
How many do you have?
We love any excuse to get some extra souvenirs. Yeah. I should note that Priscilla left her bag in the little shooting game area, and the guy had to run out and chase us down to give it to us. So we're 2 for 2 on leaving bags behind. Dotonbori is also home to the famous Glico Man sign. I'll admit I had to look up his significance when we were there, but that's what traveling's all about. And at this point, it was no surprise that even the drain covers were a work of art. I also really appreciated that they had train boarding points for only women during certain times of the day. Next, we headed to Osaka Castle, where we took part in several different rituals. My first attempt was a fail, but when one sacrifice doesn't work, try again. Also, we learned this from another guy we were watching, so if we're wrong, just pretend we're not.
I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
But seriously, this was the coolest rock out front of Osaka Castle, and it was giving total Outlander vibes. You can actually tour the inside, but I've read reviews that say it's not worth it, so we just toured the grounds on our own, and we had a great time sightseeing. We also stumbled upon a very interesting monkey show. After leaving Osaka Castle, we headed towards Shinkansen Tower, which is the landmark tower in Osaka. There is an observation deck you can go to, but the line was pretty long for it. However, there's also a slide you can slide down, and the line was pretty short for that, so we decided to give it a go. It was only 1,000 yen, which was probably $7 or $8 at the time. After you pay, you put your stuff in lockers, and then once it's your turn in line, you head up the elevator to the slide. The slide itself is 60 meters long, and it runs from the middle observation deck on the 3rd floor down to the 1st floor basement. They do also send you this video after you're done. It doesn't actually show you sliding down it. This is just a visual representation of what it's like with some weird ads in the middle and some cheesy music. But it does show you going in the slide and coming out of the slide, which was pretty cool. Especially for only $7 or $8, which would easily be tripled in the US, if not more. I had actually forgotten about this giant 3D Kura sushi sign, and I'm so glad we stumbled upon it because I would have been so bummed if I missed it. As y'all know by now, I am a Kura obsessed girl, and this is my favorite picture from the entire trip. Shinsekai area had a boatload of things to see and do, pun intended. There were more of these giant 3D signs, plenty of food options, retro gaming centers, and even casinos. We also stumbled upon this retro pinball arcade, which would have been cool to try out, but it seemed very intense, and we walked in and there wasn't a lot of space, so we just watched for a second and headed out. We decided to offload a little bit of our yen at a casino we saw nearby. We were only there a few minutes, didn't win anything, but we gambled together on the slots in Aruba, so we had to do it in Japan. On the way back to the Airbnb, we met up with my friend Coco, who just so happened to be in Osaka that night for a kimono fitting. We actually met because she was a pilot at my regional airline, but she has since moved on to United Mainline, where she's based in Guam. And it was really cool catching up with her all the way on the other side of the world. I had to get one more of these before we headed back. I didn't like the grapes as much as the strawberries, but I had to try it anyways. And then I almost got some sriracha at the sriracha vending machine until I realized sriracha is actually made in the US. I didn't know that, so I wasn't going to bring back US made things to the US, but it was still cool.